Hi. I usually don't do making-ofs because I feel they stop me from getting back to actually making films, but with my latest short film, The Lodge, link in the description, I just felt like sharing some of the things that went into making it. This is, however, the first time I'm doing something like this, so go easy on me. A little while back, I went on an Austria vacation with my family. Though the most exciting part about it was not the time I spent at the seaside or enjoying the incredible view, it was shooting a film. See, when I saw the house we'd stay in for the next week, I was instantly struck by all the opportunities it offered for a film. I've gotten so tired of shooting in my own house that I made it my mission to shoot something there. So, I had exactly one day time to come up with a story. Seriously, I was almost not gonna finish the film on time, but more on that later. One challenge that comes with shooting an entire film by yourself is having to go through dozens of takes to ensure that the angle and focus is just right. As a result, my hard drive is now full of different compositions for every scene. Part of the reason is simply that cinematography is very important to me and that I try to ensure that everything flows nicely in the edit. To name a few examples, with this bowl shot I was first going for a Wes Anderson type symmetry, which I was going to combine with this shot, for which I also had at least a dozen different versions. Same thing with the opening shot, for which I had to tilt the camera as well as bring my hand into frame right after, and since I wanted it to look as smooth and seamless as possible, it took me 39 takes. I had a similar case with this shot, since I had to stop at just the right spot, as well as get the performance right afterwards. I did 26 takes. This one only took me half as many, but I also consider it the ugliest shot in the whole film. A few other examples of shots that went through various compositions include this one, which went from low angle to high angle. Here I started out with this very wide shot, but I quickly realized it could irritate the viewer for a handful of reasons. First off, you are shown all this stuff that has nothing to do with the actual focus of the scene. Secondly, there is no fore or background, no focus or blur. And finally, everything is lit equally. So I went through a couple variations until I landed on this. The background is dark, the doorway is in the foreground, and it's the only source of light. Some shots are just really hard to figure out. For this one, I used a few towels to get the camera to the level I needed it to be. My tripod won't get me very far here. Another challenge I faced during this shoot was that almost all the lights in the house could only be triggered by movement, meaning that if I wanted them to turn off, I'd have to stand still at my spot for a few minutes, which led to some rather frustrating situations. Then there are the shots that I didn't even wind up using. I was actually going to show what's on the frame, but while editing, I figured it'd be much more interesting if people could come up with their own theories about that. For the ending, I also gave this angle a shot, but that would kind of defeat the mystery of who he was stabbed by. Other than, well, wind? Sad part being, I hurt myself for no reason. I will say that this was by far the least relaxing vacation I've went on. During the day, I spent most of my time planning out shots, and since virtually the whole film was set at night, and my parents, well, existed, I had to stay up till about 4 AM more than once to have the living room all to myself. Going back to what I said before, I almost did not finish this in time. I didn't get any sleep on the last night, but not because I had insomnia. I just couldn't stand the idea of going home with an unfinished film. So I stayed up. And by the time I was finished, my parents were already filling the trunk for a ride home. I made this little making of video because I can imagine it is easy to watch the film and take the compositions for granted, since most of them appear like the obvious choice for that scene. But when you look into it, there are almost always a million different ways to shoot something as simple as a bowl of cereals.